I need to go catch. But anyway, so welcome. We are at day 2560. And the question we're looking at today is where was your family when they experienced their first major injury? Every family has a story about their first major injury. It might have happened on a playground while riding a bike, riding a horse, climbing a tree, playing sports, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Whether it resulted in stitches, a broken bone, or even surgery, was a moment that everyone involved remembered long after the injury had healed. And I was trying to think back, what was my very first injury that I recall? I don't know. The only time I've had stitches have been after surgery. I've had two surgeries. I had one surgery to remove my wisdom teeth. Had a surgery here to remove a benign lump that was pressing up against my major facial nerve on my face, and it's affected this whole area here. And I can poke around in this, and all I get is a general sensation that something is going on in this area, but not specifically where it is. So it comes and it goes. It's just one of those things, because they said that was they actually had to remove 3/4 of my saliva gland because this benign lump was tied up in there. Yeah, and that was my first major surgery. That was my only major surgery, I think. Yeah. But we discovered with my wisdom teeth that my body does not like dissolving stitches. They put dissolving stitches on my gums after they'd removed my wisdom teeth, because they were all impacted and they had no space to come into my mouth anyway. I had the surgery on Friday. I was back on Monday getting the dissolving stitches taken out because they were causing issues. And then they put a dissolving stitch up here for the drain that was then attached to drain the surgery area. They put a drain up here and they had a dissolving stitch up here. And I will tell you, it itched like freaking crazy. It was driving me nuts. And we had a couple of medical people that were married that lived across the cul-de-sac from us. And so I asked them if I could come over so they could check out to see what was going on. They couldn't find anything. And what had happened is that in the 3 days since surgery, the skin had actually grown over the dissolving stitch, but the dissolving stitch was causing all this itchiness. So that was on the weekend. And so Monday morning I called up the surgeon and went into his office, and they put me on the table and had to put me under a microscope so they could see what was going on and remove the dissolving stitch. So yeah, because when they pulled the drain out, they just pulled it out and left the stitch there. I told them that they should take it out, and they said no, it'll dissolve. Yeah, that didn't work. And I've had knee surgery. That's right, I had to go and get my meniscus all cleaned up, and I've actually got the video of it. And it's this round video like this, and it's very interesting to watch. It looks like there's cotton candy in there, and this thing comes in and goes, well, I'm just making up the sound effects, and like eats up the cotton candy that was on my knee and leaves me with a very clean looking knee. The surgeon was fine. He was fine, except for when I went back for my follow-up after the surgery, my knee was swollen, had a lot of fluid on it. And so and I had a huge fear of needles. And so I'm on the exam chair in his office there, and his nurse is there as well. His nurse had been with him for like 20-something years, and she was a sweetheart. And I will tell you that they acted like a married couple in the thing. It was hilarious. At the time, it was not, because he's having a look at my knee and he's prodding it all around like this, and then all of a sudden he gets this hypodermic needle without telling me and jabs it into the side of my knee. I shot off the table. I went straight up on the table. My knee somehow stayed in, he was holding it firmly, but my butt left the table. I screamed blue murder. And the nurse is like, what the hell are you doing? And she started going off at him as he calmly just pulls out all this excess fluid out of my knee and told me that I needed to be on my crutches for another week. I got down in the car and those crutches went in the car and never came out again. But that was the most horrific one that I have had done. As far as surgeries go, yeah, so those the only times I've had stitches was when I had the surgery done up here. And for my wisdom teeth, I have not broken a bone. Touch wood. So yeah, but in fact, I don't think my brothers broke any bones either. I don't think they did either. I know my one that's 2.5 years younger than me, my younger brother, he ended up having stitches one night because I pushed him off the top bunk. I would have been about probably about 4 at the time, 4, maybe 5 at the time. And I slept on the top bunk, he slept on the bottom bunk, but he came up, and we're sitting there with our feet together like this and doing this pushing backwards and forwards. And I said, look, I want to go to sleep. And I gave him an extra hard push, and he went off the top of the bunk over onto the floor and hit his head on the dresser on the way down. And so Mum and Dad had to race up, find somebody to look after us kids, after me. And I'm not sure if my youngest brother was with us at that point yet or not. Well, they raced him off to the hospital, and he got stitches in his head. So Craig, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. That was, yes. We've made up for it since then. So yeah, and I remember him getting stitches for that. And my brothers have also had stitches for bits and pieces, when we're out playing and things like that. And so, where are we at? Okay. So for the person who was hurt, it is often a mixture of pain, fear, and uncertainty. Yep. Sometimes you get nauseous with it. For parents and grandparents or carers, it was a rush to get help, the worry while waiting for treatment, the relief of hearing that everything was going to be all right. These are the moments that remind us of how much our families care for one another. Recovery often became part of the story too. There may have been a plaster cast covered in signatures, crutches that took some getting used to. Yeah, I did not like crutches, and we lived in a 3-story house. Favorite toys brought to hospital, or weeks spent resting while everyone else was out playing. Sometimes the injury became a funny family story. Other times it became a lesson in courage, patience, and determination. Now I'm also going to throw in here, like going into hospital to get things like these tonsils taken out. That was a common thing when I was a kid. Kids getting infections in their tonsils that was bad enough they had to get their tonsils removed. And their favorite part was the ice cream that they got afterwards, because it helped cool the throat. Although this experience can be difficult at the time, they often become important family memories. They show us how people responded in a crisis, who stepped in to help, and how resilience is built through life's unexpected challenges. They remind us that family history isn't only about celebrations, it's also about the moments that tested us and the love that carried us through. And I have to throw in here too, my dad was a patient in hospital, and Mum had just come back from vacation and was told that she had to observe this patient for concussion during her shift. She'd just come back from vacation, and she was like, she was not happy about having to observe this guy for a possible concussion. And that's how my mum and dad met. So good things can come out of having hospital stays. So your family tree challenges: ask a family member about the first major injury they experienced. What happened? How old were they? Did they need stitches, a cast, surgery? Who was with them? And what do they remember the most about that day? Record their story today, because even the hardest moments often reveal the greatest strength and the deepest family bonds. And let us know in the comments below, some of the stories that you uncover, and see what happens with those. So with that, I am out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hei konera.